Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey Podcast, the podcast where me and my brother Charlie and our friend Dan talk about English ice hockey, specifically the NIHL. And we have completed week two of the playoffs. We've got one more weekend of the group stage round before the final weekend at Coventry, and no teams have actually qualified yet. So it does come down to this final weekend. It's been a great weekend for me and Charlie and Dan, obviously watching two absolute cracking games of hockey between two top teams. But we can't give it all the beans because there is still a weekend of hockey to be played, and the Romford Raiders, which we'll go into in a bit, have given themselves every bit of chance to cause an upset on the last weekend. But yeah, what? How good is the playoffs, Dan? We'll come to you first, and then we'll come to Charlie after. But it's just playoff hockey is the best, man. It is the best hockey.
Oh yeah, I've always said it. I mean, I would love to just have playoff hockey all through the year. Just have a
Wish you
whole
could.
year long of playoffs. It would be unreal. But I just love the fact that it just brings the best out of everyone. It brings the best out of the fans. It brings the best out of the players. Like everyone just buys into playoffs, and it's so good to see that even in England, where obviously hockey isn't as like prioritized, everyone still buys into like the playoff atmosphere, the playoff style of game, and yeah, it's really good to see. And obviously, hopefully, as it keeps growing in England, obviously that playoff sort of name gets a lot bigger around hockey in the UK, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing.
Well, elsewhere in the league, before I get to you, Charlie, Slough Jets, congratulations on them for winning their league in the South Division. They'll face the Billingham Stars at Coventry, so we get to see Neil Lydiard back in Coventry again after what is he retired like twice now? Played for many teams after Swindon, but we get to see him again, which I'm buzzing for, and his family will be there. And then also the Belfast Giants. I know we talk about the Elite League a bit on here, normally when it's linked to the National, but the Belfast Giants on the last day getting the league win against the Nottingham Panthers. And to be fair, Charlie, I know we've got our thoughts on the Elite League and how we do prefer the National, but you can't argue about the well, how it's gone right down to the wire in the Elite League. Sorry,
Yeah.
please speak while I get rid of Kitty.
Yeah, it was a good title race in the Elite League. It was interesting, yeah, but I just want to talk about the National League to be honest. That's all I'm bothered about is the playoffs and talking about the fun of the National. The Elite League's cool, but I'm not here to talk about the Import League.
Well, it's your third episode in a row, Charlie. You haven't had a break
Yeah,
since.
you feeling all right?
Yeah, how have you
Oh.
found coming back to the podcast, and two, how have you found the playoffs, mate?
Well, we haven't lost since I've come back on the podcast. So I've been sat here with a smile on my face, but no, it's been good. I'm happy to be back for the playoffs. It was nice having a break, but the hockey's been really good. I've watched some really good quality hockey. It feels like Swindon have hit that form again, which we had for like a good 2 month patch. And when Swindon are winning games, I'm normally a pretty happy man, especially when Malas is at 2 points a game pace at the moment, and he's back to playing his very best.
Yeah, it is. It has been good, and you've seen the best being brought out of some players. You can really see the level going up, physicality. Shall we start then? With the big double header. Let's get it out the way. The one we were at, the Wildcats against the Lightning. Both of us coming off the back of a 4 point weekend. And I think the majority of fans were saying, Lightning and Wildcats were saying win your home game, split the weekend. I think that's what a lot of people predicted. I know, Dan, you had some prediction. I think you said that you think Swindon will just sneak both of them, and well, that has happened. But I think the majority of fans were saying get a split, and then you just got to win your home game the weekend after, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, getting the win in MK was massive. Um, that's why I sort of swayed with the prediction that I said because if you can get the win at MK, the momentum that you can carry over is massive. Obviously, I know it. We'll talk about it, but it didn't go in the way of the Swindon wanted to at the start of the game on Sunday. But we'll look at the Saturday game, and I think the first 25 minutes of that game was perfect from Swindon, and that's really what won them the game. When you look, obviously, as to what happened later on in the game, as when MK sort of grew back into the game and started getting a few goals back and sort of got a bit more comfortable. That start from Swindon is the perfect start that you want in that MK rink.
Yeah, I think we'll go from the start then, Charlie. What was your thoughts coming into the game? Because we both said we should win the home game on the Sunday because that's your home rink. That's where we're best at playing, and you know how hard it is to play on the MK rink. But they had a bit of a not a mess up because they got the 4 points, but they didn't. They conceded what 7 goals on the Saturday and another 5 on the Sunday, so 5 across the weekend. They went with curling. I think we all agreed that we thought curling was going to start this weekend. There was a lot of pressure on Milton Keynes on this game, wasn't there?
I think what's fun about playoffs is and I think as a whole as a club, MK haven't won a trophy this year, and there's a huge amount of weight on their shoulders. Probably the most weight in the league, if we're being honest. And I think that comes with its own pressure. And they got 4 points last weekend, and I remember saying last week it was a huge 4 points for them, even though they didn't play pretty. But fans were expecting probably a big bounce back and a win on home ice. But the Swindon Wildcats have kind of we've come out to play this playoffs, and we've really been implementing into our game this year our defensive side of our game. How can we stop putts coming into our net rather than score? I think
Yeah.
us and Leeds, I'd probably say, are the two teams that you'd say are really defensive, structured teams throughout the year. And obviously, Peterborough and playoffs kind of come in with that defensive structure. But I felt like we went into that game kind of wanting to keep the score low,
Yeah.
but also wanting to get on top of curling early. We knew that there's pressure in the goalies, and by the way the game ended, you could tell Curlin felt that pressure. I don't think there's any way of denying that. And I think there is this element of in MK right now, both goalies, whenever they play, there's this massive pressure on them that if they don't play well, the other one's going to take their spot in potentially Coventry. And obviously, both goalies want that spot, so it all played into our hands really. And
Well,
but we had to play a defensive game.
yeah, yeah. Well, you mentioned that defensive game right from the start. You could see the shape we were playing. We clogged up that neutral zone. And then when they did get into the offensive zone, we just set up in that formation, Dan. And for that first 10 minutes, we didn't let MK get any momentum. Rennie made a couple decent saves, and we limited them to just shots from the outside. We had a couple chances ourselves. I will say that we looked very dangerous on the rush in transition, picking the moments where MK have committed up the ice a bit too much, and we did look dangerous on the transition. And then the first penalty of the game, and Spadaford didn't have his stick, and he goes straight through the numbers of Malazinski, and that's the bit of the erratic behaviour which we saw of him at the start of the season. And Swindon and their power play, it's like a broken record us saying this, but you cannot put the Wildcats on the power play when you know they're going to sit back all game and wait for these moments. And of course, it was Glenn Villan. Glenn Villan in the slot, a rebound straight to him. He just knows where to be. And that's 1-0 to the Wildcats. And you would say the Wildcats won that first 10 minutes of the game, Dan.
Yeah, that's what I mean. With MK, you can't. You sort of. It's hard. You want to go into that game and score goals, but it's not the best way to do it. You need to sort of pick your moments, like you said with Swindon, and that's what they did. And that little, that little moment from Spadafor is what changed the whole start of that game. Like given that power play, you get the momentum from that. Swindon have had a hot power play all year. Like it's the one team their power play's not really had a rough patch. It's sort of always been quite consistently good. Um, but playoffs is special teams are very important in playoffs as well because it's you get limited chances in 5-on-5 hockey. So when you get the power play, you're going to need to make it count. And Swindon definitely did that in MK. But that's the chances that you get in MK, and when you get them, you have to take them. You can't let them go, because you're gonna be regretting the power play chance that you had at the start of the game if it doesn't go your way in the end.
And then it was another power play goal, Charlie. Jake Bricknell was given the freedom of Milton Keynes, and that's the one play you can't give freedom. and he gives it the old down the knee celly. Watching it back on the highlights today, he doesn't do it towards MK's bench. He almost turns around, does his celly, and looks over to the Wildcats bench like, come on, boys, come on, boys. And then start of the second, you're thinking, we got a 2-0 lead. How are we going to come out here? And I think we shocked them. We sent out that line of Malazinski, Nelham, Kosti, who has been our best line in playoffs. It has to be said. They were really good against Sheffield. And Thomas just fires one towards the net, straight to Nell. And we're 3-0 up, 20 minutes and 30 seconds in, Charlie. But you've then got 40 minutes of this MK pressure to suck up.
Yeah, it's a really unique position to be in 3-0 up in Milton Keynes. Because it's not easy. You don't want to then keep almost like pushing for goals, but you don't want to sit back, and you know MK's pressure is going to come, and I think it was about playing that trap hockey, and keeping it tight and making them shoot from the point. We blocked so many shots, and it was really interesting. And then there was a silly penalty from Reed,
Yeah.
which you don't really need to give away. You're not going to crucify someone for doing that, but as the game showed, you can't give away power plays because we gave away that power play, and that is exactly what led them back into the game. And again, it's I think MK is such a momentum ring. It's a loud place, and we saw momentum so many times. And I think the first shift of momentum was the first power play, and then the second shift of momentum was the first power play for Milton Keynes. And as we know, the game suddenly the nerves slowly started to go up when the first goal went, and you're like, oh, okay, we're in for a game now.
And then Godfrey slipped. Um, that whole play was just so unfortunate because Wells brought it out like he does. He lured the Venus to go round, made the play, hit the lino, and then it turned over the other way. Godfrey slipped over at the worst time, and Lawrence bangs in a rebound, who's probably their player of the weekend. We'll talk about him in the second game as well. It comes to the third period, Dan, and it was power play again, 5-on-3, and it was 59 seconds of a 5-on-3 power play, and you're
Yeah.
thinking, okay, at this point, if you can concede one just from that 5-on-3, I said to you, if we concede one, I think that's what you probably take from that. And we conceded literally as the first penalty had ended. So it meant that they didn't have a second power play. And we just managed to hold on to that. And it was a 3-3 game. And that last 8 minutes were it was tense, wasn't it? I could not stay still. I was always I have this habit of bouncing my legs up and down. I can't keep still. And we eventually got it to overtime. And you've probably got two MK who's very good at we forgot to mention Norris, by the way. Have you watched the highlights back, Dan?
No, I haven't. No.
So I've watched the highlights back. Now Norris got sent off for a third man in. For the Dops reviewed it, and I think they rightly reviewed it. He should have actually got instigator because he dropped the gloves and punched Bally before Bally even dropped the gloves. And Bally was obviously having that altercation with Martelli. That was a big factor. Norris got sent off for that. Whether he should have been sent off, I don't know. But we should have had a power play if he was an instigator. But yeah, I forgot to mention that one. But anyways, overtime comes, Charlie. And what was your thoughts on overtime? Because we've secured a point, but then you've got another point up for grabs here. We won it in overtime last time.
Yeah, I can't lie. I nearly had like the greatest moment of all time. I was on the edge of pooing myself when Thomas Malazinski goes through one-on-one away in MK in overtime. I almost was on Twitter already, ready just to at any MK fan I know and say, ha 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 ha. But Malas skied it and put it
Missed the
into
goal.
um, and then obviously Eddie Bebris had a breakaway and skied it to Rosehead. And to be honest, considering we played the best overtime team in the league, I don't think that's a debate. I thought we played a flipping brilliant overtime.
Yeah.
We
Up
played really
possession.
well. And then Bricknell kind of bushes down the left hand side. Bit weak from McEwen.
Yeah.
Bricknell
Probably
gets
tired
through.
legs.
Britnell gets through, snipes one, sneaks past Curlin, crosses the line, ends in controversy, absolute fit on the middle of the ice, and I'm sat there just going, Swindon,
It,
Swindon, and
honestly,
it was can't lie. I'll say this as blunt as it is. People know I say how it is. It was brilliant fun from a Swindon fan's perspective. It was quite funny watching everything which laid down on the ice. But if the whistle was blown before the puck crossed the line, fair enough. I can understand why MK fans are frustrated, but I'm not going to sit here and complain about it. And anyway, in my eyes, if that goal had been disallowed, it would have been a robbery because the
yeah.
puck was going across the line anyway. It was a fair goal, a little bit of a goalie error, but yeah, buzzing with the boys. I thought we played a brilliant overtime. We had three massive chances. The third one went in, and if only Malas slotted that one, we wouldn't have had any controversy, and I would have been the loudest man on Twitter.
Well, I want to talk about it quickly, briefly, and I'll come to you, Dan. After watching it back on the replay on the stream, so the reason why Milton Keynes fans were frustrated is because it looked like Jarvie had blown his whistle. Now, Jarvie initially signaled like that. He didn't have his whistle to his mouth. He signaled like that, and that basically means the play's dead. Then he realized the play wasn't actually dead. There was no whistle. He then blew his whistle, pointed at the goal. So he actually was blowing his whistle to say the puck across the line after he'd initially gone like that. So I think there was a bit of confusion with that. But Dan, it was a perfectly fine goal. And from the replay, Curlin thought he had it, but it just snuck under him, hit the back bar, and then bounced further forward as well. So it was enough power just to go through him.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been tough to hear a whistle in that rink at that time anyway. I mean, it was loud, and yeah, I think it was just the moment. Like, I think if that goal happens, like just in any other part of the game, I don't think it gets that reaction. But it's just the fact it was in overtime. It's obviously 14 seconds to
Extra.
go, like in overtime. It's like everything is just on the line in that game. Like both teams wanted it so bad, and it's just like the yeah, it's just the pressure like we were talking about before the game. You've got obviously MK have got pressure. Swindon are coming into MK. They want to win, and I think just the whole moment just got to everything, and I think that's what the reason why there was so much of a reaction. And I get it, like every team wants to win, and if a team feels like if a player feels like they deserve to win or they didn't deserve to lose, they're going to obviously argue it, and I can understand why they would do that. I think everyone's the same. Like if we were talking about like Swindon, like if I was Swindon, Swindon would do the same thing as well. It's sort of it's just in the moment, and but at the end of the day, it happened. Like it's done. You can't let it get to your head. You can't let it carry over to another game because at the end of the day, it's done, and
Yeah. Oh,
that's the game, and that's hockey.
the thing I'll end this game with is if the shoe is on the other foot, I know for a fact that if that had happened to Milton Keynes, they would be saying the complete opposite and saying that the goal should count. You cannot say, oh, a perfectly fine goal shouldn't count because the referee originally went like that. And might have blown his whistle. It was a perfectly fine goal, and I agree with Charlie. It would have been a robbery if they had disallowed that goal because there was no interference either. But yeah, anyways, we've
The final thing I'll add, the fans who booed Swindon off,
yeah, that's
that was
embarrassing.
that was quite funny. It was the ref's fault, if anything. And yeah, then there were some Pacific people who tried to start
Yeah,
on.
we don't want to name him. We don't want to give him his
But
even
yeah,
mention
there's
him,
some
but he's a
fans who,
muppet.
who you look at stuff like that and you're like, it's a game and people go a bit mental. But it was quite funny. And I don't think, looking back at the incident, I don't think the MK fans would have been as riled up if Curlin didn't react the way he did. I say it how it is. He made a meal of it, man. Like we say Swindon would have reacted the same. Rennie Marr, I would never do that.
He wouldn't have done.
Like I said this to Dan, there was less of a reaction when the goal didn't cross the line in Telford. I'm not trying to be someone who,
Yeah.
but it was a huge reaction, and at the end of the day, it was a big point for MK. I know they didn't get 2 points the next night, but it meant that it was still in their hands over Romford, which was a really big thing for them. If they didn't get the point that night, it would be in Romford's hands. Whereas getting the point that night meant that the whole group is in their hands. So I understand the tensions, but it was a bit too much for me.
Bit over the top, yeah. But we won. That's all it is. We've talked a lot about that game, so we'll go over the second one, which was obviously back in Swindon. And I think this was Oh, I think it was actually a better game of hockey compared to the night before. You obviously saw Swindon's tactics. MK dominated a lot of the game, but Swindon obviously won that in overtime and deserved to win that game the way they set out. In Swindon, it was a very different game, a very physical game. And Milton Keynes, like you said earlier, I can't remember who said it. One of you two said they started that first period really well actually, and they got that 2-1 lead. Dylan Lawrence with a snipe. He's got a shot which is so deceiving because he doesn't need any backlift at all to create power. He can just flick the wrist and it'll just snipe it. And it was too quick for Rennie to even put his glove up and save that. And he got that goal. Ross Venus with a tip in. I think defending could have been better, pushing him out the crease. If a player's in front of your goal, you need to get him out of the way, don't you, Dan? But 2-1 to MK after the first. They then did what Swindon did to them in the other game, in the game on Saturday, and they scored the early goal. Dylan Lawrence again with a snapshot. And just like Milton Keynes battled back into the game on the Saturday, Swindon battled back into it on the Sunday, didn't they, Dan? And it started with another power play goal.
Yeah, we were talking in the game, and it was 3-1, and we said if you can get, because I think it was about like 10 minutes left in the second. I think it was like just halfway through. We were like Swindon need a goal like now, like, and then we got that. There was that power play chance, and I was like, this power play is so important. Like this is you're again, you're obviously you're under pressure. Like MK are looking dominant, and they give away the power play. Like this is the chance. This is the only chance you're going to get to gain a bit of momentum back. And Swindon did it. They got the momentum back,
What a
made it
goal
three
by
two,
Ross.
and after that, it got a bit more even again. Like it's so big how much one goal can do. And then after that, Swindon sort of calmed down a little bit. It's a one goal game at that point. And then you're looking like Swindon, they could get another one here. Like, if they could finish a period as 3-3, considering on how it started, you'll take that any day of the week. And that's exactly what they did. They got another goal. And they just carried on from that momentum, just kept going and going and going, kept rolling the lines as well, which was good. Um, and they just kept rolling, just kept playing hockey, not rushing things. And in the end, after the start of that period, it ended like a perfect period for Swindon because they carried that momentum into the third.
And the
And
fans' momentum as well.
yeah, and you would take that any day of the week as a Swindon fan, considering how that started.
Yeah. We won't go into him too much. Ryan Wells, unbelievable. On Saturday, he got man of the match for Swindon. Sunday, that goal, just he didn't rush it.
It was
Got
perfect.
got the puck. He then took that step back to get momentum and fired it in, and just got the crowd going with the Selly. Bricknell, it wasn't going for him on the night, was it? He had a lot of chances. They were getting sticks in the lanes. He couldn't get that clear cut opportunity, and then he just sniped it in as well. And Charlie, going into that third period, wow, the Link Centre was probably the loudest I've heard it. We're known for not being the loudest of teams at home, but flipping heck, playoff games you cannot fault the Wildcats fans. We always get up for them. The towels, everyone brought them back. That was really good to see, and that 5-on-3 kill. Oh my goodness. Obviously MK had a 5-on-3 power play the night before. They did score one goal. They then get a minute 40, Charlie, power play on the 5-on-3. Aaron Nell accidentally flicked it out. And you're thinking MK got to score. They have to score this. And I think it was you, Dan, who said to me, if MK don't score this, Swindon go on and win the game, just purely off momentum from killing a 5-on-3. And it was a mix of not a great power play, Charlie, and excellent shape from Swindon.
Yeah, you should. I should say the attacking team's always favourite to score on a 5-on-3 when it's that long. And they had some chances, but Swindon really dug deep. We had some good face-offs in that 5-on-3.
Yeah, Billy.
Face-offs are key, and moments like that can kill an extra 10, 15 seconds. But Wow's blocked some big shots again. He's just so good. But it was a good team performance, and I was really proud of the Swindon players because I've often found we don't win games when it's not pretty. We struggle to win games when we don't play at our best. And to be honest, credit to MK, I thought they played a great road game.
They
And I know
disrupted
that
us.
sounds stupid, and I know MK fans will be like, "What? Charlie's complimenting MK." I thought you played a cracking game on the Sunday. I thought you were the better team. I thought you had the better grade A chances. But for some reason, Swindon just dug deep and they just found a way. And the goals we scored weren't the prettiest. Bally's and Bricknell's were not pretty goals, but we just found a way to get it in the net. And it was a really impressive performance from us. And just the way, like that 5-on-3, I think that kind of sums up our game and MK's game. They played a really pretty game and they played a good game on paper and they would have won the XG battle and all sorts, I'm guessing. But Swindon just dug deep. They played with their hearts on the line, and it was cracking. And just me and Dan rave about him, but such an underrated player in this league is Glenn Billing. Like he is a top three British centre in this league. I don't like. I think Luke Ferrara and Matt Hayward are up there with him, and I can't think of a guy who's next to him. He plays both ends of the ice. He chips in with so many points. He's got more points than you'd expect him to. You watch the game, you're like, he's probably got a point. He'll have like three at the end of it, and he kills 5-on-3s and wins face-offs. And so it was a really I was really happy with how we played, and I think that 5-on-3 kill summed it up. For MK, I just think they need to shoot more. Like they shoot so much on the point
They
during
kind of
five
thought they
on
had a
five.
lot more time, which they
And then
did.
5-on-3, like you've got a guy like Forsberg, right? And to be fair, Forsberg's proved me wrong. He's a player who's a lot better than I originally thought he would be. And he has got maybe the hardest slap shot in the league at D. He is he's got a cannon on him. It's a 5-on-3. Just let him whack it on the net and get a rebound. I know I'm not a coach, and they've got a guy who played in the NIHL in charge. I'm sure he's a bit more than me. But yeah, it was a really good performance from Swindon, and from an MK perspective, they've improved dramatically in Swindon this year.
A better team than last year.
Last year we dominated them at home. This year it's been 50-50 in every single game in our rink. I think we won one in OT, we lost one in regulation, and we won one in regulation. So it's been very split with them. And we've had some great battles this year. It has been cracking playing MK this year. Like both, we got battered one game. Like there's been one game where it's been like a
And
dramatic
the
scoreline,
first 30 minutes was 0-0.
and the first 30 minutes was 0-0. So it's been awesome, and there's some great MK fans I've had chats with as well. Scott is a absolute legend. I always love chatting with him. So yeah, the rivalry between MK is not quite as potent as it used to be, but
It's always, I will say it, it's always sweet beating them, though.
oh
It is
man, it's the
just,
best feeling. But it's always the best feeling when you beat the team with the most fans in the league.
oh.
'Cause there's always the biggest reaction. But it's still all to play
And it
for.
was
So
also
yeah,
nice that obviously they had the controversy at the end of the first game, which I still think we deserved that. To then beat them, what you'd say, fair and square. Bedbris with that moment. The link centre was absolutely rocking, by the way. Um, Everyone was saying it's the loudest we've heard it. Like 1,400 fans stuffed in there. It was honestly
it
brilliant.
was electric, to be fair. I don't think I've heard the Lynx Centre that loud in
Yeah.
flipping ages. Like credit to the Wildcat team because the attendances have been massively up this year. And it just felt awesome, man. Like even at the end of that MK game. So I saw some fans giving us stick online for only chatting at the end. Flip me, we were loud at the end. Dan was saying he was like, I wish I was a fan right then. I remember him
He
saying he was
still
like, I
didn't
wish I was a
celebrate. He
fan.
was just like this.
Ah,
Because Dan was like,
yeah,
I
I'm not
wish
gonna
I could like
celebrate.
join in
No
with
way.
the chants. Like he was like, I want to join in with that. And it's like, it was awesome, man. It was just such a that's why I love hockey. I love tense, close games, and you get to enjoy it. And
And the thing
yeah,
is, it's
it was
and I
awesome.
said it at this right at the start of the podcast. It's still not done yet. We've not qualified, even
Oh,
though we've had four brilliant games. Mathematically, we've still not done it yet. Pardon me. We need one more win to secure that top spot in the group. But we'll get onto that in a bit. Sorry if you feel we've talked loads about the double header. It was two unbelievable games, and there was also some brilliant matchups elsewhere as well. So we'll get into the first one on Friday night.
there was some cracking games, wasn't there?
We watched, yeah,
Me.
there were some really good ones as well. A lot more goals in the other games, I'll say that.
Yeah.
But the Friday night game, the first one, we'll do this double header: the Steel Dogs and the Raiders. And the one for Raiders and Reed Morrison, deciding to just go prime Ovi, just smacking them in from everywhere. He did a nice little cut inside, then wristed it to the top corner. He just scores all types of goals at the moment. He scored four. Sylvester scored the first. The Steel Dogs, again, like they did in the Wildcats game, they made a little fight back. They didn't quite have enough in the tank. And they did lose that one 5-4 in the end. And that's a big road win for Raiders. They really needed to win that one. Obviously, if MK and Swindon had split it, like it's their opportunity. So they won that one, and then the Sunday, which I think was it was the first game of that the Sunday, wasn't it? It was the earlier game. And Dan, they come across seven. They come 7-2 winners. Morrison got on the score sheet again. Shaw Miller with a couple goals. They needed a 4-point weekend, and they did it.
Yeah, they did. And when Romford are at home and you let them play their offensive game, they're going to make you pay for it. It's just a fact of how you play yourself offensively against them, because that's when you can obviously you can get the game back in your hands, because from the history of Romford, you know they're not they're not a defensive team. They don't play games defensively. They just we know we've always said it. They try and just score more. Um, but if you're not going to be on it from the get go offensively, they will make you pay, because Romford, they'll take any chance they get. Like they will just be ruthless with their offensive chances that they make. They'll do anything. They've got guys there that can just take the puck from one end of the ice to the other, and they will take their chance. You've got Reed
Miller.
Morrison right, yeah, Miller. You've got Reed Morrison right now, who's like playing at another level since playoffs has hit. He's really found his game, and that's
Anderson.
big because it's another guy who's not on the top line. He's on your second line, and it's just a bit more sort of depth scoring. So Reed Morrison's getting up there, and I think when you've got your imports firing, the Brits around you are just going to be better as well. And Romford are in a good place in a minute offensively, but they just really need to tighten up on their D. And fair play, they obviously kept Sheffield 2 goals at home. That's good. They kept Sheffield 2 goals, but they have got some offensive threat as well. But yeah, that is a big 4 point weekend for Romford, but it still gives them the life.
Yeah, it gives them all the chance. It's in their hands to win two times against Swindon now, and they'll qualify. As for Sheffield, Charlie, it's tough for them. There's been many factors. Obviously, I'll mention one in a minute, but Kurt going right out at the start of the playoffs in game one, their best defenseman. He leads the play, doesn't he? You've loved Jonathan Kirk, and he gets injured in game one. They miss him. They have to go down to 5D. They've then got 10 forwards. Obviously, Phillips just come back from that injury. The big one for me, Tremblay going. He's smashing up in the Elite League. Now, I do think he suits the Elite League more. He's an Elite League player. But when you're missing your best centerman, your best player, I do think all rounded he's a bit better than Walker Sommer. It's going to have an effect on the team. And they're out of the playoffs, Charlie. I think they were the underdogs coming into it. All four of us put them to finish bottom of the group, just because don't quite have enough. And I think that was the story. Really, they tried. They give it everything against Swindon. They give it everything. Crow give them every opportunity, but they just didn't have enough in the pan to get any points, did they?
No, I think they're too top six heavy. And they burn out in games because in the playoff games you can't play top two line hockey and get away with it. You
And they've
will.
got a lot of injuries. They have.
Yeah, they've got their fair share of injuries. Shudra didn't play the first weekend. Um, Ulrich did play 3 out of 4 games. He didn't play the Sunday against Romford. Um, but it's a difficult one. There's definitely been positives this year for Sheffield, but I think it's hard to see the positives at the end of the season because I think their season ended really badly. In like an honest way, they were one of the worst teams in the league on form at the end of the year, and then they kind of took that into playoffs. So it's disappointing for them, but I think you got to reflect in the summer what went well, what didn't go well, and I think there was some positives, but there's also been some negatives, and it's difficult. Losing your number one D, your number one center, and some depth pieces going into playoffs is is tough, and I think their true cup final of the season was that semi-final, and I think that showed some positives for them as a club. But I just I don't. Yeah, it's a disappointing ending, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Dan, a big takeaway. Charlie mentioned it on Twitter. The fans this season, it does have a big difference. We saw with Swindon, the fans really got Swindon over the line in that last 5 minutes. MK have all these fans, and you got that beautiful arena. I've said every time it's my favorite rink in the league, and they had one of the worst home records, I believe, in the National League, and obviously the players as well. They play the game, but it does help when you have a full arena, and I think since the takeover, obviously it's so hard when there's two teams. It's such a hard job to try and get bums on seats. It is so hard, but this season it's just felt like they have been a feeder team or the second team. Whereas in previous Steel Dogs teams, they've had that Steel Dogs around them. They felt like a separate team to the Steelers. And I do think not having as much fans does have an effect on the team in some games, especially playoffs. Because the playoffs is the games you get up for, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's hard with Sheffield. I do like what they're doing. I do like what they've created. But it's not going to be something that's going to pull off straight away. Um, I think people can't be looking at one season and just sort of writing them off straight away. I don't think anyone should do that because with with what they can create in that little thing that they've got could be really exciting if they do it right. The attraction that they could have in that group of players that they've got there with the elite league and obviously national could be a very attractive place for players, and I think it will grow. But like I said at the start of the year, I said it's going to be something that takes time. Like yeah, I'm talking like maybe 2 3 years. Like it's going to be a long trip. But I think in the end of it, it's going to be one of the best things that ever happened to Sheffield. Um, it would be nice, like we said at the start of the year, to see more Steelers fans in that rink, and sort of supporting both teams. But I think also I get it. It's hard if you've been a Steelers fan and they're saying, "Oh yeah, go and watch the Steel Dogs." You're like, "Well, I've always been a Steelers fan. I'm not going to go and watch now." It's
Yeah.
sort of it. So I do get that as well. Like I think I'd potentially be the same if like Buffalo and Bison did the thing. Like I'd be watching Bison. I'm not really gonna go and watch Buffalo. So I do get it, but I think as it sort of grows, as it gets a bit more attractive, the players come in, might attract more elite league fans to see like these future Brits coming up to what they want in their team. But yeah, I think just give it time and just go from there.
Yeah, it's tough because, as you said, we can only react on what we've seen from this season. And as you said, Charlie, it has been a tough end to the season. Injuries haven't helped. I completely understand
I
that. And
think
the
they
actual
got.
chef, pardon?
Sorry, you keep going.
I
Sorry.
was going to say the actual, when I've gone there with Swindon, obviously Jamie's been brilliant. Like they've treated it everything. I think it's treated like a proper club and stuff like that. But I'm just interested to see next season, what happens, who they sign, what's the kind of second phase now going into year two. What they have to have a big review meeting, but we can talk about this for
And they've
ages.
they've got
And
the
go on.
they've got the opportunity to cause a huge upset. I know their playoffs is done, but they have the opportunity.
Yeah, they
They
do.
beat MK on the Friday night, and suddenly you add another plot twist, and they ain't going to be one of they don't want to be known as the team who lost 6 out of 6. So they're not going to take that game lightly, and I think I think it could be an interesting watch on Friday night. I can imagine Europe would be playing, so their top six is filled out, and it will be play for pride. And I think they've had a decent record with MK. But yeah, I think there's a project there. I do agree with Dan. I think you can't judge it on the first year. I think there's more to come from Sheffield.
Yeah. So Group B then, as it stands, the Wildcats 4 out of 4, 8 points. Milton Keynes, they're second with 5 points. Obviously, they got the head-to-head on Romford, who are also on 5 points. There could be a crazy scenario next weekend, where me and Charlie weren't quite sure what
Yeah,
was
this is
going to
true.
happen. If Romford win twice and one of them in overtime, so Swindon get a point and Romford get 4, Romford would be on 9, Swindon would be on 9, And if MK win both, they're on 9. MK have the head-to-head over Romford. Romford would have the head-to-head over Swindon, and Swindon would have the head-to-head over Milton Keynes, all on 9 points.
Don't know what happened.
How'd you work that one out then?
Yeah, that's too much maths for me.
Yeah, so
I'm done.
yeah, Dan's tapping out. But I
Dan was
think
out at goal difference.
yeah, but
I
I
was
think
out
it
at one,
would.
two, three, four.
I think it would then go to goal difference, which would be bonkers. But hopefully, it doesn't turn out like that. We'll break down the we'll look at the fixtures obviously in the last week after we've reviewed Group A. But yeah, that was just a quick little brief of the stand-in. So let's go into the other group. And Leeds' whole games this year have been absolutely brilliant. You've had some low scoring games, you've had some really high scoring games. And on Saturday night, Charlie, I don't think we expected this. Leeds obviously coming off the back of a 4 point against Telford, Hull splitting it with Peterborough, and we start the game. Leeds getting that 1-0 win, 1-0 within the first 45 seconds. There's been a lot of early goals in this playoff so far. Matt Bissonette with the early goal. He's also been brilliant. We'll mention him again in a minute, but he gets that early goal. And then suddenly, after the first period, it's 3-1 to Hull in Leeds. And we're all like, what's going on here? Johnny Cornell with a couple. We love how he plays both ends of the ice. I think he's been a great addition. Sobchak getting a goal as well. But Leeds do what they do, Charlie, and suddenly they're 4-3 up.
Yeah, and return of the Phillips. His
Yeah.
last game was January the 18th, and bang, he's back against Leeds. Yeah, and he had a good 2 points in 2 games. But yeah, flip me. They love, mate. Leeds versus Hull is a cracking game. Um,
The
Hull seems to be
rivalry.
one of the teams which kind of knows how to play Leeds in Leeds. And Yeah, just always a great battle. Always they really take the rivalry literally. Play their hearts on the sleeve, and there's just so many players who just turned up that game. It's
The
you can't
top
really
players,
pick a
man.
man of the match because all the good players were good. I think if you were to pick one, you'd probably pick Owen Sobchak, who proved why he's a top point scorer. And I don't know how he didn't finish top in goals the way his weekend went. Flip me.
Yeah.
5 goals. But yeah,
Six.
it's just
Six.
6 goals.
Back-to-back
Back
hat
to back
tricks he
hat
got.
tricks. That's not too bad, is it? But yeah, that tie for me is one. If I was a neutral, that would be a game I'd always want to be at. Hull versus Leeds. And you can just imagine the Hull fans in the away block. Just giving it the big one to the Knights players, Knights fans. Just a proper derby. And They just don't disappoint. Like playoffs has not disappointed this year, and that is just another example of 13 seconds to go. Flip me.
Yeah, so both goalies, not quite an evening for the goalies, was it, Dan? I think there's a couple which they'll want back. There was a crazy goal which I sent in the chat. The puck comes behind the net to the left a bit. Sobchak just smacks it out the air, baseball swing, flicks onto Gospel the back of his leg, then just rolls across the line. It was just a crazy goal. And it's one which Gospel can't really do anything about. You don't expect that. There's a couple which Dean would probably want back from Bissonette, just wristing it from quite far out. There's maybe a couple which Gospel, but each team just kept going and going. And then the final 13 seconds, obviously Leeds have that 6-5 lead. Matt Hayward, he'll regret that when he done. He
No.
gets the puck with a bit of time and space, and he looks for that empty net and he doesn't lift it, does he? It goes straight along the ice, and Barmer stops it from going out the zone, fires it on goal, and Sobchak gets the rebound, and suddenly you go into overtime, and that is hockey in a nutshell. It can change like that in a blink of an eye, can't it?
Yeah, it's a game. It's hockey is a game of chances, and
Oh, jeez.
that one little chance changed the whole game. Like that created one goal. Like it is crazy to think. And looking back on it, Hayward is he's gonna be annoyed. Like I think when you see the empty net, obviously I've never played hockey, but I can imagine if I saw an empty net, I'd be like,
Gonna
I want
flick it
that
in.
goal. Like you want it. But I think when you look back at it and obviously the game's done, he's like, yeah, I should just flipped it. Like, doesn't even matter if it's an icing. Like, just get it out the
I'll waste
zone.
another
Just
5, 10
do
seconds.
just do like a slow dump and just get the clock down, and then you can just fully just defend from the face off. Um, but again, it's in playoffs moments. Like you're just in the moment, and it's done. Like in the blink of an eye, it's happened, and you can't change it. And that's sometimes the heartbreak in hockey. But depending on what side you're on, it's obviously the beauty of it as well.
Yeah. And then the overtime. Charlie, I don't have a hat on. I've got a hat on the floor, so I put the hat on, and then hats off to Charlie. He did call this before when we were talking in our previews. He mentioned one man, Lee Bonner, and he said Lee Bonner just loves a goal. You'll have to go. I'm sure the
I say he
whoever's
loves a
listening,
goal against
he
Leeds.
loves a goal against Leeds. That's what you said. I'm sure people will remember you saying that. He loves a goal against Leeds. He hadn't scored in the 6-6 before. And he pops up with the overtime winner, and it's a peach pass from Jason Hewitt, an absolute sauce over to him. He taps it in, and all the Bonner fans around the world finally got to see a goal from the main man put on the social media. What a moment, Charlie.
There's got to be like, there's got to be. If you listen to the podcast, I can imagine a lot of you are like it. When you see Bonner score, you just smile. You're just like, yeah, Bonner. You go on
Lee Bonner.
Instagram, you look at the comments, you're like, yeah,
It
Bonner,
feels like
what a
he's been
guy.
around for flipping ages,
Yeah,
man.
man. I think he broke out in like the EPHL at like 18, 19
Yeah.
years old. He's with Manchester on a two-way, I remember. But yeah, just oh mate, he's just one of them. Like he looks like a muppet with his hair.
But he gets a winner.
But you go score the OT winner and no one gives him monkeys. And a
Oh,
huge goal
massive.
for Hull. Kept him in their playoff race. Now we know what happened on the Sunday, and it just sums up the cracking game it was. And yeah, Jason Hewitt with a little saucer, and then Bonner, the old Hull Pirates duo as well. Like, it's still them two from the Pirates days.
It
Get
felt a
big
bit
goal.
like when Hewitt passed it across to Chamberlain in Coventry.
Uh,
If it's not the same goal, it was pretty
just the
much the
opposite
same.
side.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, it was a crazy end, and we were obviously focused on the Swindon game, and then Dan suddenly found Wi-Fi or
yeah.
connection from somewhere in that MK barn. Because if you've been to Milton Keynes, it is the worst place to try and get connection. You can't get it, and Dan somehow found some throughout the game, and Lee Bonner's got the overtime winner, and we're trying to take that in whilst also killing off the last 5 minutes of the game 3-3. But what a win for Hull. And yeah, we come on to the Sunday, and we knew that Leeds had to respond. Ryan Aldridge expects responses out of his teams. We spoke to so many Leeds players about bouncing back from a tough game maybe the night before. And it was the perfect start for them. They did to Hull what Hull did to them the night before. Leeds went 3-1 up on the road. Big game Waser got a goal. Barron got a nice little tip at the back door. Endicott with the goal. And suddenly it's in Leeds' hands. But we've talked about this all season. Hull Seahawks, when they put the pressure on, they put the pressure on. It's again, we always say this. It started with a power play goal from Sobchak, a really nice goal. Go watch the highlights. For a man who's known for his playmaking, he scored some sick goals this weekend. To just prove a point to people, I'm not just a playmaker here. I can score some goals. I've just got players on my line who score more goals.
yeah.
But obviously, Charlie said back to back hat tricks. And he got a hat trick to open it to get it to 3-3. They then go 4-3 up, Charlie, and suddenly you're thinking, Hull might get the 4 point weekend here. 10 minutes to go. Svex just sniped one past him. You can imagine how loud it was in that Hull arena. Nearly 1,400 fans in there. But Leeds just battle back into it. They're a team which doesn't really fold under pressure, do they?
There's a reason why they're double champs, and We were going through the scenarios when Svek scored. We were like, oh my days, if Leeds lose in Hull in regulation,
They're
they have
third in
to
the group.
they have to double Phantoms. They would have had to double Peterborough, which is no easy task, and they've never had a great record against Peterborough in the big games. But Leeds go now. We don't want to have to do that. We'd rather split it and go through. So I think it was Bissonnette
Bissonnette
again.
got the tying goal.
Big game Bissonnette. I don't think that's the same, but and then Kieran Brown. Yeah,
Yeah,
nice to play him. Cheers, boys. But
absolute dagger.
the one thing
Three
I was
minutes
thinking
to go.
about yesterday, it's a bit random, but Bissonnette is like the Yorkshire King. Like Hull, Sheffield, Leeds. I think he's won trophies at all three. Like he's just the man, isn't he? He just cooks. He cooks in Yorkshire. He loves the Yorkshire. He must love like a chippy butty. But yeah, what a
What are
guy.
you waffling
What a
about?
guy. You know,
Yeah,
Who's this
people.
guy?
must
You
Yeah,
like
can
you
go on a
are
break
right.
again. You can
We've
go on a break.
we've watched him over the years. Dan. He's sick in the season. Don't get me wrong. When it comes to playoffs and the cup, especially in the final as well, it's just as it's that's Bissonnette, isn't it? If you want, I think he's one of those players in the league where if you're gonna watch a player, you want to watch Bissonnette in a playoff game. That's where if you've got a new fan of hockey, you go watch Matt Bissonnette.
Yeah, it's because we always say how laid back Bissonnette is in games. Like he just looks like he plays his game at his own speed.
Yeah.
And when it goes into those big games, those big high pressure games, he still carries on that playing the game at his own speed. And when obviously some players can get a bit overwhelmed by the moment, Bissonnette just never seems to get overwhelmed by it. He's been around the league for so long. He's played at so many different levels, and he's been there. He's done it, and that's why he was such a good signing for Leeds because he's joining a team that have been there and done it as well, and he's just joining that team, and he's just another reinforcement of sort of calm play in those big moments, and yeah, he's just one of those guys that he just never looks like he's feeling pressure. Like he doesn't look like he's feeling overwhelmed by the moment. Like he'll just play his game. He won't change. He won't change his game up for the moment because he knows he's confident in his own game that he can get it done. And even though he might not be the quickest of players, like he might not be the biggest hitter or anything like that. He's just got his own game, his own specific game, and it works perfectly for him.
Yeah. If you go watch his tying goal, he controlled the tempo of it. Didn't just flick it as hard as he could at goal. Picked his spot. And it had to be Brown who got the winner. An absolute dagger with three
did he have a
minutes
good
to go.
celly?
I can't remember. I think he went straight to the bench. And the Leeds fans, they obviously sold out that away end. You could hear him on the replays, and then Bissonnette with the empty net goal. It had to be him again. And a bit of not beef, but that rivalry in the post game interviews on the Saturday night. Aldridge saying that Leeds lost the game rather than Hull winning it. And maybe with that Hayward thing, if he just flips it, it's a different story to get the 2 points. And then on the Sunday, Matty Davies saying that they did on the Saturday he didn't think his team that Leeds lost. Sorry, he disagreed with Aldridge basically, and he said on the Sunday Hull lost the game and Leeds did not win it. So a bit of protection of their team, I think, and not protection of their team. Sorry, I'm waffling here. Do you get what I'm trying to say, Dan? Or
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so. I
I
yeah?
get
think
you.
they're just back in their own team.
Yeah, he's basically
Basically,
saying the other team didn't win it; they lost it themselves. They shouldn't have lost that game. Do
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying?
Dan.
yeah. I get what you mean,
If you watch, right,
mate.
just ignore me. Go watch both of the post game interviews. It was a bit of like
Yeah,
you see
I
what
need
I
to
mean
listen
when
to them to
I've just
understand it. Yeah,
explained it probably quite badly. But
just a little bit.
it is a case of Charlie. Both teams had leads. Um, not leads as in Leeds Knights. Both teams had leads in the game and couldn't
Oh
hold
my
on to
god.
them. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I guess
It's
you could say
quarter
that.
to 11, all right.
Again, I'll say this how it is. Leeds Knights came out on top. They got 3 points. they're happy. It's very much in their hands to top the group. So yeah, I think it's interesting. I think Hull are very relentless, and they do go at it, and I think they're very good. They've just had a very hard group, and when we go through it quickly, I think we'll see how difficult it could potentially be for Hull going into this final weekend, but also it could work out in their favour.
Yeah. The final matchup then of the weekend, and a big one for the Phantoms and the Tigers. We said that the Tigers probably needed to win that home game, or it's going to be a big uphill battle from there. And they got a 2-1 lead. James Smith scoring at 19:59 on the power play. So with 1 second left of the period to give him a 2-1 lead. The Phantoms then battled back into the game. They got a 4-3 lead. Devon Skileski ties the game up at 4-4 with a minute and a half to go to send it to overtime. No goals in the overtime period. I must say, all three games, by the way, on the Saturday go into overtime. Some day of hockey, by the way, for all three games. They're absolute bangers. Um, it goes to the shootout, and Mr. Ferrara, he scored again. He always scores penalty shootout goals in the playoffs. Cam Hush scored his as well. I believe Nat Lackinen scored his. All three going in for the Phantoms, and Telford missing all three of theirs. And it's tough, Dan, because after watching the overtime in the Swindon game, you want it to be won in overtime. You don't want it to go to penalty shootout, do you? Just add another 5 minutes on or whatever. Just let it win in overtime, because I think that's a more fair way of doing it. Phantoms deserve to win on the penalties. I'm not saying that whatsoever, but it's also more entertaining as well if it goes longer in OT.
No, I've always been a big advocate for having in our league having 5-on-5 overtime in playoffs. Like just bringing in like the NHL playoffs, just unlimited overtime, 5-on-5. You just carry on the game. Even if you maybe had like a bigger stoppage in between the third period and overtime, like even if you brought that in and sort of so you could get some fresh legs out there, 5-on-5, just carry the game on. I just think it's so much of a better way to finish a game. And yeah, like you were saying, watching it in MK, like you just didn't want it to end. And yeah, I think that could definitely be a thing that they could potentially bring into our league. I
Yeah,
don't see why they couldn't, but at the same time, it's a lot different to the NHL. Like,
I don't think the Elite League don't even do that 5-on-5
nah,
until the final, I believe. The final they'll do it, but yeah.
I'll say something.
Hey, go on.
I think that you should give 3 points for a regulation win, 2 points for
yeah, I
Oh
like that. I like
yeah,
that.
and one
I
point
saw the
for a
tweet about that.
overtime
Yeah, yeah.
loss. I think we
I
should
saw how different
encourage
it
teams
makes
not
it.
to take
Yeah,
it
yeah,
to overtime. Even
yeah.
in
I like
MK
that.
away, we saw in that last minute a little bit of the foot off the gas and kind of going, okay, we'll take the overtime. And I think in a playoff format where it's so tight, and we'll see this in a minute with Phantoms and Hull, I think there should be rewarding of winning in regulation.
Yeah,
I think
I
there
like
should be
that.
a rewarding of that. I think, and I saw it in the Elite League as well. I saw the tweet from the
Yeah,
Elite
that's
guy,
the same that I
and it
saw.
doesn't actually change it in the big picture. Belfast, for example, still would have won the league if it was that. Leeds, we know how many times MK went to
they would
overtime.
have won it
Leeds would
by a
have
lot
still
more.
won the league. Um, it doesn't change a huge amount in the big picture. It just for as tight as playoffs can be. I think we're not the NHL. The regular season and stuff means more. The points mean more. So make it more encouraging for teams to win in regulation. But besides the point, please actually tweet us on that. Can we make a post on that once the podcast come out?
Yeah, we can do.
Yeah, that'll be a good one to talk
See
about.
what
But
what people think we should do with the overtime
yeah, I'm
simulation.
gonna finish what Jack said. Levine,
Yeah, I was gonna say Hayden
good on,
Levine,
is it?
42 saves out of 46, and then saving three
He's been
shootout
goalie of the
as
playoffs.
well. Yeah, he's got the highest save percentage. We've well, especially you, Charlie. You've said if Peterborough can buy into it and protect him like they did with Jordan Ma. I know Jordan Ma was unreal last year as well. I think he had a 9-5 in the playoffs, but Levine's the highest save percentage goalie in the playoffs, and Peterborough, they've prepared for it since December, January, Dan, and they look good, man. And if we're going into the they obviously win the shootout. If we're going into the Sunday game at home, that's their bread and butter, really. And shout out Louis Kinniston, man. His final game of the playoffs. I'm gutted for him that he's not able to play the rest of playoffs because obviously he's going with GB and it's a great opportunity with him at GB and we wish him the best there. But he opened the scoring in this game and he's 17 years old. I did a post about him at the end of the season.
Yeah, fourth
Obviously,
line.
yeah, he's Kinniston assisted by Sarri and Hartman. Like that to kick start the game. And yeah, the Peterborough Phantoms go and win the game 4-2. Another guy we got to shout out, Cam Huff. Oh my days.
What a
Does
player.
that re-signing for the next season look even better now that he's performing at the same level, if not even better, in the postseason? And the Phantoms win 4-2 in the end. I can imagine Telford, they give it absolutely everything. Um, they they were never going to get beat 6 times. They might get beaten 6 times, but they've still got 2 points from it. And yeah, it's a massive 4 points for Peterborough though, Dan, and that's what they would have wanted coming into it. So it is in their hands in the final weekend
Yeah, I mean, Peterborough in playoffs, having the game in their hands, it sounds like a perfect outcome for Peterborough.
at home.
Yeah, they always love those sort of moments. They love having that. They, I don't know, they just love having. They love being the team that can change like in the time.
Yeah.
Like they can change something from their game, and they always seem to be the team that just love showing up for that. And I mean, we know what Slava's about. We know Slava prepares for playoffs. We know that's his bread and butter, playoffs. So yeah, good, yeah, good luck because Peterborough not going to be an easy team to play in the last weekend of playoffs.
They've kind of done their job, Charlie. They've got a 10 goal. If it does come down to goal difference, they've got a plus 10 goal difference on. No, 10 in front of Hull. That's what I'm trying to say. They've
Okay.
got a 10 more goal difference between them and Hull. But all they have to do is win on Saturday, and they've put their spot back at Coventry. Well, pretty much.
No, I
It
will say
depends on
this.
goal difference if Hull can wipe
Hull are
the
going to
floor
go to
with
obliterate
Telford.
Telford. Whether
Yeah,
they do it or not, they are going to come out to obliterate
They
them.
will, yes.
Like from a Telford
It's a lot of goals
perspective,
to make up, though, I will say.
yeah, it is. But from a Telford perspective, it's going to be playing for pride, and I don't think Hull will be able to put up the amount of goals which is going to come, which they're going to need, which will probably be around 10, I'd say. But Bobby Chamberlain coming back away in Telford. If Hull know they need to get 7 goals, we know Hull know how to score goals. We're looking at a 12-5 game potentially.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun. I mean it's a weird one, but I think yeah, Phantoms have done what they've needed to do. And like Leving's conceded 11 in 4 games, which seems like quite a lot, but in our league that's extremely low with a 9-2-7-4. Like um, the D just steps up, the team steps up, and yeah, I feel for Telford a bit. It sounds like they haven't been that bad in playoffs. It sounds like they've been in every game bar leads away, and to come away with 2 points from 3 really good games of hockey, from what I've heard, it's tough, but that is playoffs. It's margins, and you have to have your moments, and your 3 top players didn't score any penalty shots, and Phantom scored all 3, and it's difficult. But big weekend for Peterborough, and again, Telford are in a position similar to Sheffield where let's play upsetter.
Yeah.
We can be
Well,
the
they can
team.
finish above Hull.
Yeah, they can finish above Hull, but they can be the team which upsets Hull's playoff run completely.
Yeah, puts the dagger. They will be at home on the Sunday, so Hull have the home game on the Saturday. first. But looking at that group, then before we look into finally look into next week's fixtures, Leeds obviously leading with 7 points. I believe they just need a win from this weekend. They just need to get 2 points. Peterborough on 6 points in second. Again, they should just need a win. Obviously, we'll have to see with goal difference, but if they win, that goal difference will go higher as well. And they get the home game first, so they're at home against Leeds first. Hull obviously on 4 points, and then Telford at the bottom with two. So next weekend, as we said, with Swindon, win one game against the Romford Raiders, and they finish top of the group. We'll be hoping we do that on the Saturday, Charlie. Just get it out of the way, and then see. Not you can actually rest a bit on the Sunday if you know you're finishing top as well.
Yeah, yeah. You maybe play Tyler Perry,
Yeah.
and let some of your big boys play less minutes and check out Josh Dillon and all of them boys more. But we got to get the job done on Saturday first, and it's not going to be easy. Romford, no, you win both games, we qualify for Cov on paper. I don't understand the flipping group, but yeah, win two games and win it by a margin, and I'm sure they're in Coventry, so um, it's not going to be easy. In this Romford team has had our number before. It can find a way against Swindon, and they are relentless. So I mean, it's gonna be good fun. I'm excited, and little get to see TJ. Hopefully Malas cooks him, but we'll see.
Dan, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because against Sheffield, we knew that we were going to have a lot of chances, and Sheffield were going to play that trap hockey, and we eventually got past them. Against Milton Keynes, you know it's going to be two top teams going at it, and we come out the right side of it, and we earned those 4 points. Against Romford, you just don't know, do you? It could become a goal battle back and forth. The way Swindon have played this season, I don't see that happening, especially with the decor we've got. Wales has revolutionised our defence, and whenever Wales is on the ice, I do feel comfortable. But Romford, that top six is deadly, and that can score goals. And Romford just need to put themselves in a situation where they're within one or within two or whatever. Just give them a chance because they're just going to go out, and we've got two games. We win two, and we're pretty much in. That's the motto
Yeah,
for them, isn't it?
yeah. I mean, I think post-season Swindon have played some unbelievable hockey. Like I think they've played some really smart hockey. They've played big in big moments. So I'm thinking going into Saturday, I think Swindon are going to comfortably beat Romford. I think I think it's going to be a comfortable win. Swindon, they, I don't see them sort of making mistakes.
Falling into
Like
the trap.
yeah, I just don't see it at the moment. And the way that they're playing, I think their confidence is just going to bring them through the game. Romford are going to be rushing things. They're going to be rushing for the goals, and Swindon are just going to play their smart game and get it done on Saturday.
I hope you're right. I hope
Uh,
it's as simple as you've just made it out to me because
Yeah,
we lose on the Saturday. You know, on the
you don't
Sunday.
want to be going to Romford with that on your head because going into Romford is hard enough as it is, especially when Romford know what the outcome could be if they get that win.
Yeah, but it is going to be a great little matchup. And then the other team in that group, obviously Sheffield, Milton Keynes. Swindon might not have to worry on Saturday if Sheffield win, Charlie. So if Sheffield win on the Friday, on that Friday night hockey, you just don't know. They've still got pride to play for on the line. It's their last home game of the season. Every team wants to win their last home game. If Sheffield win that against Milton Keynes, Swindon have put their spot to
I'd be
Coventry.
surprised if that was the case.
Yeah, I do. I think
But
MK.
come on, the dogs, let's go. Woof,
You
woof.
might get a few Steelers fans
Woo.
there as well.
Huh?
Yeah,
Might get a few Steelers fans.
Yeah.
maybe.
Maybe Trombley can come back for 2 games. That'd be nice.
I don't know if he's allowed.
No, you're not
Surely.
allowed.
Nah,
Imports can't go on
not allowed.
2 days.
Ah,
Um,
boo. But no, I
no,
think
I
MK.
want Swindon to do it their own way.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I'd like
it'd be
Swindon
nice
just
for
to win it
Sheffield
on
to do it,
Saturday.
but like, I'm not as confident as Dan as we're gonna take Romford comfortably. I think Romford are so good at dragging any team into their own game, and I think especially in playoffs with Miller and Schufelt. But
Barson.
Morrison and TJ James
TJ,
and Brandon Ed
George Norcliffe.
and Tommy Huggett and all of
Tommy
them boys.
Huggett has got a playoff goal.
But
Playoff player.
yeah, it'll be good fun. I always love playing Romford because I like them as a team. They're a fun club. They've got some cracking owners this year, and they just seem to be one of them teams which just can always hang into something. Like they always just like stay just about there. And they've got a way of winning big games this year. I know they didn't win the cup final, but winning the semi-final away and stuff.
Rom- Romford are a team that play for the moment. Like
Yeah,
if they're in the moment, they'll just play in it. Like they're a team that they never expected to get in that moment, but when they're in it, they'll play for it, and that's just how they are. That's just what that's what they are. Their fan
Romford
base have
way.
always been like it. It's the Romford identity. Like just play in the moment and just see what the outcome will be.
Yeah, we'll see on Saturday. And then the other group, obviously Peterborough against Leeds. They've had some great battles. Peterborough have won twice in their own barn. Leeds have won once in Peterborough. So Dan, Charlie, to stop you being a twat, I'll ask you this. Peterborough win on the Saturday. That is pressure on the Sunday for Leeds, isn't it?
depending on the Telford result.
Well, depending on Telford result, yes.
But yeah, it is. Peterborough will win on the Saturday. They will get their job done. That's
He's
gonna.
confident.
I'm confident. Yeah, I've always said it. I know. I'm not so confident in our group's prediction, but I'm quite confident in my prediction in the other group. I think Peterborough will win on Saturday and Leeds will win on the Sunday. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting and like even that, like you said, if Peterborough do win on the Saturday, if Hull let's say put in a show on the Saturday night and beat Telford by I don't know 5-6 goals, still Phantoms will still be ahead of them by 5 or 6, but Phantoms are gonna go all right. We've got to put in a shift in this away game, so it's a great group, and I think I'm really impressed with how competitive the playoffs have been.
Yeah,
It's been a really good competitive, especially all four teams in the other group, and Sheffield against Swindon were really competitive. I'd say not so much against Romford, but they were really competitive against Swindon. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm hoping. Well, yeah, we're looking. Yeah, you're starting to look at fixtures and where you're going to come across.
yeah.
And if we win one game, we top the group. So it's like we're probably going to come across Phantoms then or something like that. So you're starting to see a picture, but anything can happen in playoffs. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Dan, anything else to add then before we wrap it up? We've been going over an hour.
Nah, this I love playoffs.
Yeah,
If
obviously
Telford
we're all
win, if Telford win both and Phantoms lose both, oh, they can't go through. Yeah,
no
nice.
Telford are mathematically. Yeah.
Thanks,
Mate,
Charlie.
Nice one, Charlie.
Good bit
that
of
was good.
information right
That was good.
there.
Right.
That was really good.
Yeah, it's a late
What's
one.
what's the
We hope
league?
you've
Uh,
yeah, follow our socials at
yeah.
Macca's Talk Hockey, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We'll all be at Cov. I think me and Dan will be there on the Friday night, and then Charlie will be there the Saturday night. But yeah, we'll catch you in next week's episode where we'll know who is going to the dance, the Coventry playoffs, and we can do our Coventry playoffs predictions.
I've
We'll
already got
see.
my predictions, mate. I did them in the last podcast.
Peace.